Well, we've been at Bucket of Blood for the whole morning now and part of the afternoon. We've seen all the guys here. Now we're going to chat with notorious Jon Ritchie.
Yeah.
Son of John Hall, as we all know. John, thanks for letting us come up today.
That's alright,
It's a hardcore gym, wrestling gym.
Yeah, we love our wrestling, yeah. It's based mainly on wrestling. You know, we have the boxing, Muay Thai and everything else, but wrestling's the main agenda.
Wrestling's the main, because obviously you've come from a wrestling background, because your dad, John Hall, was a world of sport wrestler.
Yeah, I grew up with it, yeah. I was like, my granddad was a boxer, my dad was a wrestler, and I grew up doing both. You know, granddad teach me boxing, dad teach me wrestling. When I was about 16, something like that, yeah, 16, I didn't get into I was trying to get in the English boxing team, but I didn't get into it. And I was a bit downhearted, and so my dad took me to Dale Martin's, the gym down there, just to get a job basically and earn money out of pro wrestling. So
boxing was quite a tough sport to get into back then.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people
yeah.
out there doing it, like you had East London, South London.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up? Was it?
At Grove Park, Chimbrook. I boxed at a Downham Community Boxing Club.
Right.
Under Dave Rogers and Brian White, who were fantastic trainers. You know?
Did you, when you was a kid, did you go to the shows with your dad? Is that how you first started liking it?
Yeah, I'd always go. Yeah, I was sort of a fan as a youngster, but it weren't anything I really wanted to do.
No.
But then, of course, when I got to sort of 16, I knew everyone. All the people I watched as a kid, like Bobby Barnes, John Cortez, and all these fantastic workers. I got the chance to work with, when I was older, and that's what sort of drew me into it. I started doing it for money, and then started enjoying working the crowds and all that, and like that getting the crowd in the palm of your hand and bringing them up and down when you want type thing. There's nothing like it.
Do you think they've lost that a bit now in like American wrestling?
Oh yeah, it's gone. Yeah, it's sort of like trying to take them up as high as you can, which normally is like the entrance. They tend to pop on the entrance more than anything. Yeah. And then it's just like a general queue. Whereas they fear silence. When we Steve Gray or Johnny Saint might be having a straight wrestling match. Yeah. There'd be silence. You wouldn't hear a word. You just hear the old round of applause and all that. But at the end of the match, you get a standing ovation. Right. Because these people were fantastic workers. Now, if the crowd are silent, they start panicking and start getting on the mic. Come on, cheer! This is the bad guy. This is the good guy. They should be able to tell that story themselves.
Or they cut it on TV.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or there's tricks, cover the seats, make it more people there. Is there really any need to do that?
Well, I think right, they're not looking in the right direction. If they're having to cover it to make it look like there's more people there and all that, then there's something wrong with the entertainment itself. Yeah. And that's where they should be looking to improve. Like the best place for me. I like the old world of sports type of wrestling, but I like the shoot edge and the freestyle amateur type of edge to it. Yeah. Just a little bit more keen, if you like. But they could look back to that, watch how they work the crowd, watch how they got their stories over in their matches, and they would learn a lot, and that would up wrestling again. At the moment it's just taking a big tumble, which is a shame.
You're three-time world champion?
Three-time British champion.
Three-time British.
Yeah, that was at LDN, yeah.
That was, you wrestled, was it 96 matches undefeated?
Undefeated, yeah.
Undefeated. Was that when you had the belt, was that with the belt?
I think it was a bit of each, a bit before I had the belt, and then once I got it the first time, I think.
When we come here today with your dad, obviously, John, when you still see him in that ring at his age, with his injuries, he's got bad knee, it must make you think,
I worry sometimes, but like all the lads love his knowledge, he's got so much knowledge. And it keeps his mind. He always says it keeps his mind active. He don't just, he's not one of the people who could sit at home and not do anything. So he gets down the gym in Strood and this gym, and so and teaching people and constantly keeping up on things keeps his mind ticking over. So that's good,
Yeah, the Bucket of Blood was shot into the limelight last year, so to speak, because Kurt Angle come over.
Yeah, we had Kurt Angle. We've had Royce Gracie. He was on the one show. A couple of times, so yeah, we've been lucky really.
Because about 12 years ago, before MMA really kicked off, I know Royce Gracie was coming over here for seminars, and there was like 5 people turning up.
Yeah. I mean, BJJ's took off big time, but you know, and you know, if you say when they come down to the gym, they say you do BJJ. Well, sometimes we do, but we don't always do it. And we say, well, no, but we do submission wrestling, which they don't want. You know, what they don't realise is that it all came from submission wrestling. It all came, you know, that's where it all came from.
So was it big? Obviously, when Kurt Angle came, it must have been like.
Yeah, we packed solid. You know what I mean? It was a great day, really good day, and he was a nice fella. You know, he's polite. We give him a bucket of blood sweatshirt that he stuck straight on and that type of thing. Yeah, and he commented on what a great gym it was. You know, which is a big thing. You know what I mean?
I read that he liked the way it was. It's a proper wrestling gym. I believe that's the words he used.
Yeah.
It's a proper wrestling gym. Like in America, you've got machines and everything.
I'm not a machine. I don't.
No.
I find that common. People pay thousands in memberships to like leisure centres and all that, and you're going on machines that really are for defining muscles. Once you've got a body, then you go on these machines to define little parts of your muscle. Whereas, you know, if you just want to build muscle to start and to get fit and all that, and really you should just be either doing free exercise or maybe on the loose weights type of thing.
Do you think the Americans have made that where you've got to be this big, super strong wrestler? Because there's stories about steroids in America, drugs, everything.
I find it incredible that people, you know, it doesn't seem to matter to the people that like wrestling now that they're really watching a drug addict, you know, going through these motions type of thing, you know, of a staged match. You know, we never used to stage a match for a start. You know, you had to be able to work freestyle.
Part of the skill, I suppose.
Yeah, and it was about, you know, any wrestling's about agility. You'll never ever find a great wrestler or even a boxer or something like that that's a bodybuilder, because you can't move. You know, it's just the two don't go together.
Yeah.
If you train the right muscles enough, it doesn't make your muscle; it just makes your muscles strong.
Yeah.
You know, it's a fallacy that a big muscly guy be like the expert fighter type thing. You know, it's all part of the fantasy of WWE and that type of thing, I suppose.
When I spoke to your dad, I spoke about World of Sport, because that come off the TV about '86.
It must be. Yeah.
And I said, does he think that a lot of that was to do with the American stuff, like really shining through? He agreed on that.
Well, no, I don't know. I mean, the first thing we knew really of American wrestling properly in this country, unless you was in the game type thing, was Hulk Hogan in Rocky.
Yeah.
And people were like, Jesus, like, you know, the size of him and all that. And so, and then I remember they started showing it on DVDs and that in pubs, on the screens, when they first had the big screens. And so it started to sort of gather momentum. And of course, we had, at the time, our wrestling, because it was such a lucrative business, it was kept a very close shop. So the old guys weren't training the young guys.
Yeah.
So we ended up with a lot of old guys with fat bellies rolling about on the floor that couldn't do a lot, and not too many young guys. And if you did get a young guy, of course, they were starting to go to America. Yeah. And then they start to show these big American, you know, massive crowds and all that. What's that indicate? It indicates that they're better than us, you know. So, and to be fair, at the time they was, you know, hands down. But I think there was a little backhander somewhere along the line, and that's why the British wrestling got took off. Because I think it could have, a little bit of investment could have gone a long way. But, you know.
You do your own shows, John, as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Drop kick shows. I mean, how hard is that to sorting them out? Because obviously there's a diet. The audience is hard to. It's hard to get people.
It's hard to get a crowd, and we, you know, because we do a lot of like club shows and that, we rely heavily on sort of the parents, the families, friends, you know, and they'll chip in a little bit to keep the club, helps keep the club going. But we're starting to move out and do bigger shows now, so it's the same format, you know, a bit more advertising. We're just going to see how it goes, type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
But hopefully we'll be all right.
I think because British wrestling took quite a big slump, didn't it?
Yeah,
like,
it's been down and down.
Do you think it's starting to pick up? Because I've noticed a few shows starting to appear now.
Yeah, it depends what you call how you class it as British wrestling. Because if we're going to say, well, you know, let's do it a British style, then we go back to the World of Sport days. What we got is we haven't got really British wrestling shows. We've got British wrestlers doing American wrestling. Yeah. Poorly, you know, to be fair.
American wrestlers on British shows.
Or American wrestlers on British shows, yeah, which actually is getting less and less. But so you're getting the smaller names that are not really nothing in America now, coming over here, and they automatically have bigger names. You know, you've only got to put American underneath their name, and it sort of more or less sells a ticket. But you know, I'd like to see what we do here is about home-based wrestlers doing home-based wrestling. You know, a lot of amateurs are still done to the rounds format,
Right.
which, you know, a lot of people won't do. Oh, people don't understand, people don't. Or it gets boring, but it's only boring if you haven't got the workers that can do it. If you've got the workers that can put it over, then all of a sudden, you know, when we started, the last, I think, something like 6 shows we've had, we sold out. So, you know, it's starting to, you know, because people are going watching WWE now and then watching a cage match and thinking, well, how comes that taxing him out but he can stand it? Like, these yeah, and they're starting to, even the ones that sort of semi-believed it now, are starting to think, you know, no good.
Yeah.
And then they come and see our wrestling and they start to realise that, oh, no, this is a bit near the mark. You know, and they are, as the real champions. They win their belts in real shoot wrestling competition, which is like submission wrestling. The only difference really to something like BJJ, we don't have chokes, we don't have nothing across the throat, because we find that takes the skill out of it, because everyone's just going for the throat, choke out, so we take that out of it, and then it's about skill. Then you've really got to know about your limbs and your body and your leverages, and that's where your wrestling comes from, you know. So.
It's like you've got a tag team perfection.
Yeah,
two big guys, two muscly guys, nice fellas. Obviously, they said themselves they're not going to go up the top rope and start spinning off it. But the way they bring their characters across is quite arrogant to the crowd, oiling themselves, winding people up. I mean, that's a good quality.
Yeah, that's brilliant. You've got to have the character. Yeah, we always had the character in this country. We had fantastic characters like Les Kelly, Adrian Street, Bobby Barnes. You know, these people were fantastic. Leon Harris, fantastic characters, and they can go in like a stage actor and not only do the physical wrestling but also do this performance.
Yeah.
Like, you know, get the crowd into the matches. Well, these two are like that. They're both amateur wrestlers. Zed's also a very classy boxer. I don't know if you see him on the bag. He can really, you know, he could be a boxing champion. He does the shoot, he does BJJ. So they're all top class athletes, first of all. You know, and then, you know, a lot of them come to me and say, you know, what characters are we? What character are we? So I go, learn your fighting first, learn your wrestling, learn how to work it, and then we talk about your character, and we bring your character out of the style that you've got, type of thing. You know, that's normally how it works. With Zed and Jazz, they're big boys, so they all up like the bodybuilding thing and all that. They get girls up to all them up, and I love it. I think it's hilarious. You know what I mean? It's
a brilliant act, isn't it? When you think they put it together from
and they're great
that.
workers, you know. So they'll go somewhere. You know, we've got other characters like Bradley Albright, who's very submission based, clean. You know, no mucking about, no character. It's like the fact that there's no character is his character, so he's just like in do the business, and he's a quite fantastic wrestler. Honest Ernest Sterling's another one. Freddie Cornell. We've got all these fantastic characters coming out. We've got the Tiger Kid, Humongous. You know, they're all out. If you come and see a show, I know you'll see they're all there with the characters and everything else you want. But then they can do the business.
Well, I was going to say, we'd love to come to the next show and see it. It'd be brilliant. Let's talk about your characters, because you've got Notorious Jon Ritchie. I suppose that's your heel character, isn't it? Well, yeah,
Notorious was I used to wrestle for NWA Hammerlock. It was Andre Baker that came out of it. I used to do like, as if I was still in prison. I was a prison boxing champion, and then someone said, yeah, you should be called Notorious, and it sort of built from there. And then I do Jon the Don Ritchie, which is like basically a gangster, and I've got my team of bouncers. Their beatings are us. You know, it's sort of like send contracts out on the audience, things like that. You know. And then I've got the gentleman who's, well, someone said he's more like Dick Dastardly. If you remember Dick Dastardly, out of Wacky Races, then you know, with a moustache and like that. So like, it started. I always found my characters with a hat. You know, if I walked in a second-hand shop, that was what happened with Gentleman John. I walked in, there was a top hat. It was only £2, so I thought I'll have that. Bought that, and I had it about 2 years at home, thinking how I'm going to do it. I didn't want to do just like, you know, it's pointless going out to be and saying you're a gentleman, and then that's it. It's just your entrance, then you wrestle, and there's nothing else. So I started playing it kind of like out of the fella out of Fagin. Oliver, you know, like that type of thing. Like they all wear top hats but they're all crooked and bent, and like they're not quite gentlemen, not quite, you know. And every now and then I'd speak you know, I'd be all well spoken until someone would say something, and I'd go, shut up, what's the matter with you, like, you know, and then they go, oh, you're not posh, you know, like, and play it all on that, and, you know, and it grew and grew with LDN, you know. Sanjay Bagger put me over really well, and you know, we was on telly for 2 years. I was on telly every week, I think, for something like 2 years, you know. Incredible coverage, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it needs again. There's a lot of channels now, John, on Sky. They're like free channels, and they're now these sort of shows, you know. There are doors opening for this, isn't there?
Yeah, it will, yeah, I can see it coming. Like, the only problem we've had in the past, really, is that, like, the channel we went on, I think it was the Fight Channel or something like that, I can't remember. Yeah, it was the TV Wrestling Channel, and they sold the Fight Channel. Yeah. Well, the TV Wrestling Channel had been slaughtered by promotions for, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years before that, and we just got him, basically, I think they'd already made the decision to sell out, but we was very successful now. Yeah. And it was a shame, and they sold it to the Fight Channel, and I think they went skint after it was sold, so I think so it just fell through, which is a shame because it was becoming a success, you know. It was gradually building, you know. We started bringing in the old wrestlers like Johnny Kidd, Johnny Saint, Steve Gray. We started having them back on the shows and
that. Bobby Brookside.
Yeah, Brookside was on there. So, you know, it did start to go, but and then it got gazumped again.
What's your sort of, because your dad still, like I said earlier, still gets in the training. Do you think you're going to be the same, like your dad still?
Yeah, I normally train, I'm on the mat 7 days a week type of thing. I love shooting, I love submission wrestling. I love boxing, I still box. So I don't know what I'd do if I had to stop, to be honest.
And you did tell me earlier that you reckon when Kurt Angle come in, you reckon you could have took him?
I could have took him, yeah. I could have took him.
And the future.
I think he knew it as well. I could see the fear in his eyes.
Did he do any wrestling when he was here?
No, we offered, but he said he'd had a workout that morning.
Do you reckon it's because he looked into your eyes and thought, no?
Yeah, I could see the fear. I could see the fear.
He saw the notorious and not the gentleman.
Yeah.
In the future, John, you're going to keep going with these shows, keep the gym?
Yeah, that's the idea, that's the plan. A lot of growing, you know, it's pointless if we're not going to grow. Obviously, we can't just sit and stagnate. Even if it's paying for the club, we can't sit and stagnate. We've got to grow or go type thing, you know. But yeah, I hope to grow.
People like yourself are going to keep British wrestling. You're going to keep doing your gym, keep doing the shows, and just keep going like you have done before.
And some of the people that I've got that are actually learning with me now, they've got that same frame of mind, and they've learned exactly the same way I've learned. So they'll pass that on, and you know. So if I'm like, I've got Luke that stays, or little Danny Hills that stay, you know. So and they'll pass on the same messages,
Quite
you know.
Impressed with little Freddie as well.
Yeah, Freddie Cornell, good little shooter.
He knows all the old wrestlers and everything.
He came from an old gym. I won't mention the name, but he came from a gym, and the trainers have basically crapped on him. Been there 4 years, and basically he learned nothing. So I stripped everything off of him, put him in the amateurs, the freestyles. He started to learn that, and he won a title in that. Then I put him into submission, started to learn that, and now he's our lightweight and welterweight champion. Yeah. He won both in competitions after like 7 fights as well. And then from that I just said, right, now what you do there, lighten it up and work it in the ring. Yeah. And all of a sudden he could wrestle. Yeah. And put a character on it, because he was one of my sort of bouncers, like, and beatings are us.
Yeah, I heard that.
And then it all came about, you know. So that's brilliant.
About training, John, because I hear a lot about obviously your gym's really well known, Kurt Angle's been here, but I hear about a lot of gyms that get a lot of injuries. Now this is something that's a problem, because they're starting out, they're getting injured very early, probably getting put off wrestling. Do you think there's a lot of gyms that are opening up just to make money nowadays, like wrestlers?
Yeah, a big, like I've actually had people here that might train me for 6 months. Next thing you know, I'm starting up a club, and I'm like, what? You don't even know how to do a single leg, a double leg, and they do, and they get a bit of money out of daddy or whatever, and they go and do it. And there's thousands about there, and that's sad, you know, because someone will get. There was a kid, Nicky Barley. I think I was telling you about earlier. They tried a move that they hadn't practiced, they hadn't done properly. Tried this move, he ended up with a broken neck, and he's paralysed from the neck down. He's 19 years old. Now that is scary. And you know, it's a simple fact. If you learn how to do a throw correctly, learn it the real way, you'll learn how to do it properly and safely. And that's the thing, is the safety, the strength. It's no good, you know, like you might be able to lift weights, you might be able to pump like 100 kilos above your head, but when it comes to holding the body as it goes over, it's a different game. You know, and this is where a lot of the accidents are happening. And you know, they might in the gym, get up on a rope and do a perfect moonsault onto a crash mat. Oh yeah, so I'll do that on the show, I'll do that on the show. Instead of like practicing it 1,000 times first, and that's where you get, you know, there was one kid, I think it was an LDN show, and I think it's called the Swan Tong or something like that they do, where they...
Swan Bomb.
Yeah, and he's done that and come down on his neck. He was so lucky, he was paralysed for about 20 minutes, couldn't move, and they cut his boots off and all that, and we thought, you know, he's had it type of thing. But he was lucky he recovered. But you know, it just goes to show you don't, you know, you've got to. I always say, like, never try anything first time in the ring at a show. No. Always practice it. You know, in all wrestling, any combat sport. You know, because all pro wrestling really is like a kata. Like in karate, you learn how to fight, but you do katas. Yeah. Really, pro wrestling is a kata. It's the theory of wrestling. Yeah. So you're going through the motions lightly. You know, if they learn to do that correctly, then they'll be safe. And it's all about repetition. You know, any combat sport, you keep doing it. You know, you don't sort of go on a punch bag and go, oh, I can do a jab now. I won't need to do that no more. You're constantly on it, jab for years and years and years. And it's the same as, you know, taking an art. People go, oh yeah, I've done loads of shoot, and I go, have you like ammo? So you go, oh, I've been doing it about 6 months. You're a baby then, you know, because you've got to do years and years and years, and you can get better, more mature. I've got better and better and better the older I got. The carry on learning, you carry out the theory of it, the leverages, and all the different things, and that's what it's all about, you know.
So if someone's going to join a wrestling club, how do they know? How can they check that this wrestling club's got all the the experience?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a good example, good thing, but well, if you can on the British Amateur Wrestling Association, you can find clubs through them, and the clubs that they recommend will be qualified coaches that are trained and been taught by these people, and they'll have the certificates to prove it, type of thing, you know. The other way is, like with pro wrestling, you can go by people's ask around. You know, if you can ask someone that's wrestled these people, see what they think. You know, but it's an hard decision to make. You know, if I wouldn't want to send my kids to most pro wrestling clubs at the moment. You know, there's a couple that I would send them to. There's one in Norwich, Ricky Knight. I think it's WAW. You know, they've got a lot of experience. You know, there's very. Robbie Brookside's got a club, I think, in Leicester. Yeah. That'd be one to learn. But
so there's not many.
That, yeah, I can't. Yeah.
It's the same with MMA. They're opening. Someone's doing MMA, having one amateur fight, and they think they can.
Exactly. Yeah.
They think they can teach you well, but it don't nothing, does it?
You know, we used to do shoot fights. I think it's like a bit of boxing and wrestling. We didn't have the kicks in it, but you had to go around the gyms then to find it. You know. But I've done it all my life. I've done it basically from when I was about 5 years old, you know. And I'll have someone come in that's had one match, trained for about a week, you know, or a year or whatever, and they're trying to tell you how you should be doing things. It makes me laugh. I've learnt how to just ignore it and take notes of them. But it used to sort of annoy me at first, because, you know, unless you get it right from the beginning, you can muck someone's career up. Yeah. You know, and that's a shame, because, you know, you might have had a champion on your hands, you know, and then someone mucks it up, you know. You know, you can look at Amir Khan. Amir Khan never seems to have got out of the habit of being an amateur, where he just sort of trundles into punches. He never got that slip in, you know, because basically, although he was taught well as an amateur, he won a gold medal, he wasn't trained in the correct way to go on to be a professional. He was trained to win a gold medal, and he can't get out of that habit now, you know. And, you know, the Americans have trained a boxer to be a champion in years to come. Yeah. You know, and they learn to slip punch, they learn to do these type of things, you know.
Well, the last thing I've got to mention, obviously, is that you've got a couple of Wade Barrett, who's in WWE. Yeah. He's been trained by you, and your dad as well. Is that right? With Wade Barrett? Yeah. And Magnus, yeah. What's the other?
Marty Skull. Marty Skull's on TNA, I think. Robert Rose is another big name. He was their trainer at the Samoans. We got.
Paul Birchall, something to do with it,
Birchall, yeah, that was in the early days. I think that might be under Frank Reimer.
Right, okay.
I'm not sure. Kat, I forget what she's Winter now. I think, yeah, we used to train her down at NWA at Hammerlock.
So you've a lot of people have come. I mean, obviously, people see the names that have come out, have been trained by you, your dad as well. everyone can tell this is the place. If someone lives near Essex or London or anywhere and they want to learn wrestling, come to Bucket of Blood. And it's not as actually brutal as it sounds, is it? Bucket of Blood.
James Figg was the first world champion. James Figg was the first sort of official world champion at Bare Fist Boxing, and he had a gym above a pub in East London, and it was a nickname. That's the Bucket of Blood. You know, you'll sweat a bucket of blood in there if you get in there, type of thing. Well, James Figg then trained Johnny Jack Broughton. Jack Broughton then went on to be another world champion, and he sort of invented the use of gloves in matches, etc. He opened a gym, and in honour of James Figg, called it the Bucket of Blood, and that's basically where I took it from, type of thing, you know. Not Rocky, as some people think.
Right, John, I can't thank you enough for letting us come up today. It's been a pleasure to meet you. It's been a pleasure, obviously, to meet your dad as well. And hopefully we'll come to your next show.
Yeah, definitely. If there's one soon on the 7th, I'll let you know.
Yeah, no, we'll see you at the World of Sport anyway. You're going to the reunion.
The reunion. Yeah.
So we'll see you there.
All right, cool, nice one. Thanks very much.
Thank you.